Hi everyone, welcome to Shibumi Boat Build, our YouTube channel. This is episode 26 and we've had about a week off after getting rid of the scaffold last week. Let me remove my glasses, I don't need them on to look at this. We're beautiful September days, very much dewy at night and humid, but we've had some very nice weather recently, and we're hoping that'll continue for the next couple of days. We're hoping to start the fairing of the hull, which is going to be quite extensive, to remove all the well lines, any little bumps in the hull, and you know, we've quite a bit of work to do there, months of work to do there, and prime it afterwards and just keep working our way around the hull. In the meantime, I want to get the fuel tanks on the floor so I can prepare the floor for the final coatings in there, get insulation in there, get the tanks back in there, and get the floor over the engine room so I can be at least moving on, because it's not always going to be fine. I'll be looking for plenty of things to do inside in the engine room and inside the boat itself in general. So today we're going to go back inside actually and hopefully temporarily mount the two frames for the fuel tanks, so at least I can get them back down from where they are hanging inside under the roof of the main cockpit. We just have to weld on some nut extenders, which are going to be welded to the sides of the frames in order to hold the threaded bars holding down the tanks and locking them in place. So we'll see how we get on. So we're back in the boat. It's actually about 2 weeks since you saw the last bit, just that you just saw there now. And while we did prepare the fuel tank holders that I made and put on the nuts to hold them down, 6 on each one, then we offered them into the boat to have a little look, and we had a little problem. And I'm going to be straight on, just the only way we're going to do this is going to be completely up straight. When we sandblasted the boat in April, it was quite bad. The floors were quite bad. Let's not beat around the bush there. The walls, roofs, all the rest of it all came up fine with the sandblasting. The floors, as much as the sandblaster could do at the time, did its best, but it wasn't a complete fix. It didn't remove every single piece of it. And while the rest of the boat was raw, as in fully now cleaned out, we then had to start obviously painting, or it would start re-corroding again. So the floors got painted, as you saw. The bow section is actually in the best condition, and that is actually good to go. We're actually going to keep that one. But unfortunately in the engine room, so as we were offering in the frames for the tanks and looking around at what we're putting where, it became very apparent, and I had noticed it, I'll be honest, that there was little bits, corrosion coming back up, little rusty spots coming up in the floor and all the rest of it. So I've made a decision, and in the engine room only, not as the rest of the boat is fine, in the engine room only, every single square millimetre of the floor has been taken back to bare metal. Unfortunately, we're not sandblasting this time. We have the engine in, it is under a cover, but we're not in a position to sandblast in here now. They would just destroy the boat. So it was an angle grinder and mops, and I'll be very honest with you, to do one half of the engine room took me almost 4 days of solid labour, and the dust and the muck. None of it was videoed. I still have the other side to do, the road side we call it, to do, and I might take some of that, but and just life getting in the way and whatnot has slowed us back a little bit. So I now have, and you'll have a look at it. In the meantime, another exciting thing that did happen, and this was last week, was that while I'm looking at insulation for the boat, now the obvious thing to do would be to spray the foam into the boat, spray it all on, and that's the way production boats are done, and that's all fine when you're dealing with a brand new boat in a production house that can put everything in to the point that they are ready to insulate, and then continue on the build, and they know exactly what's going where, and they know where every bracket is and where every hole needs to be. We don't, and I won't. It's going to be a long time till all of that happens. So the easiest way for me to do insulation, and to be honest, I got some very good advice from another builder, Steve, in the UK, and he used a form of a blanket with a foil that I've also managed to get. The brand he used unfortunately got bought up by a bigger company and is horrendously expensive. I have found a fantastic company here in Ireland. They're based in the north, but they're based throughout the whole 32 counties. And I made contact with them, and lo and behold, within the space of a couple of days, they happened to be in a town nearby also here, and they called down, the man and his father called down, who run the business, and they called down, and we spent an hour on the boat looking at all the possibilities. And I'm going to show you that. I have a small sample of it. It's absolutely fantastic stuff, and what it means is that as I build the boat, and obviously the first bit of insulation is going to be right, I'll get my hand in the camera, right here, which is behind the fuel tanks. The fuel tanks, I'm sitting where the fuel tanks would be, they're actually right above me. So those walls need to be done, and a bit of the floor, and then I can move on with each of the different parts. So I'm actually going to remove the camera now and show you everything that's going on, including the floor, and also another problem that we've had, and that is, and I can show you on the beam, it's right behind me. So the original floor height that was designed in Shibumi when it was built, for some reason there's a couple of different variants of this hull, and in order to decide which one I wanted, I went with the aft cabin, I went with all the options that I wanted in my hull. But however, it's really nothing, but the original floor height should be right here. That's the piece you can see. And that from there to there is 4 inches or 100 millimeters. And when standing on these floors, the big girders that are over the engine bay, they were all fitted at that height. They were originally all fitted here, and everything fitted in, and everything worked. But I found that in the upper salon, looking out through the windows, that we were actually very short. You were, peeking out through the windows instead of being sort of midway in the windows. And I wasn't happy with that. I wondered and looked at drawings and the whole lot, and there was a slight, I won't say an error, it was just an option that the bulkheads for this and the ribs for this boat were cut slightly shorter, as if it was the open cockpit at the back instead of the aft cabin version, which brought the whole thing down. But because we're the hull we are, we needed to be higher. So back then, this is back in sometime in 2008, I raised all these, so this piece is actually new back in 2008, and our floor height is now up here. So we've rejigged the whole piece there that you can see, and that's the same on all the ribs, the one ahead of me, and then on the top of the bulkheads I actually put 100mm by 50mm box iron all the way around, and raised the engine the girders over the engine, and everything there is now properly done. The only problem is that because this is a category A boat, the engine room needs to be sealed from the rest of the boat. It has to be completely sealed, welded in, and that's why we have the big bulkhead door. Every connection that comes in and out of through the engine room has to be done through bulkhead fittings. There can't be just holes anywhere. So we're not going to do that. We're going to try and keep the rating as best we can. So I think we're still in camera here. I might just move it slightly, just that way a little bit. Excuse the light. So essentially the old floors would have come in here, welded onto the hull, and we have the floors. The floors are over outside the shed. They're rusty. We'll tidy them up and we'll put them in. When all the girders go in over me, and there's a girder coming from here over to the engine room. So there's girders 3 each side to go in, and then there's 50 by 5 flats to go in on top to stiffen it, same as the rest of the boat is done, and then the steel will go on top. So obviously the tanks have to be all in, and all of that needs to be all sorted before that ever happens. But the original sheets were cut to fit exactly across the top of this and onto that hull line there, and should have been welded in if this was a production boat. Of course it's not. So we have to do everything sort of inside out. So what I'm actually going to do now, I'm going to just stand up here and kneel, is I need to get to this height where I'm pointing, and I'm going to come from here to here with 4mm plate the whole way around on each of the bays, and then weld a small piece of flat to the top of it. So now I am completely sealed. I don't interfere with the welding directly to the outside of the hull, which is going to damage the outer skin of the boat or leave weld marks, considering we're already primed, and the whole thing will just work out perfect for me. So that's going to take a bit of time. It'll have to be done before the tanks are dropped. We also have to look at where the hydraulic pack on this side of the boat is going to go, and sort where the tanks are going, tidy it all up, completely paint it, all 3 coats, weld in everything, have all that done, completely painted, finish just above the height of the engine bay because I won't bother painting any higher, and then put in the girders, sort all that out, and then we can start dropping the floor. And obviously do the other side at the same time. The 2 of them are all going to happen at the same time. So we've lots to do, and essentially we're now at a place where the hull is painted on the outside. It's good enough to last the winter. I am going to be fairing it on the better days, but essentially the outside work is going to stop now because we're in October. I'm not going to get a whole lot done on the outside. So I have this for the winter, for the next few months, to get the engine room completely ready, the floors in, so I can then start building the rest of the boat and start laying out bits and pieces. So I'll just move the camera around now and I'll show you exactly what we have. So as you can see, that what was fully painted is now all taken back. I've just removed every last scrap of rust, and these little marks here were actually where we had welded tabs to the boat, and we literally just painted over them. I've now ground them back. I'm going to sand them. That was the old point where the old tank angle irons used to meet, and also down here. And all the floors are now spotless. So they're all done. So we now have, and back to bare steel, a clean boat. So as you can see there, I've all of them done on this. There's 4 of these to go in. So I'm actually going to start with the little piece of flat here, all the way to here. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the camera, and then follow in the line and set it on the edge of this and custom cut each of those pieces. It's going to take a while, but it'll be worth it. And finally, and it was literally only this morning that it dawned on me a solution how to sort this, because it was always going to be an issue. The floor does need to be sealed. I wanted to maintain category A, so I have all of those cut back now. At least that I can get a weld on them, and any paint that burns either side will just be wire brushed off and then re-sanded and repainted again, so I'm not worried about the finish and damaging the paint at this stage. That'll be the end of the welding on this side then, until the roof or the joists go in to go across these ones here, going across to the engine room. So there's the engine sitting there. It's under a canvas and a blanket, and you can see the place is just destroyed in dust, but everything else is fine. The engine's completely covered, so I'm totally happy with that. And any rust that's in that bay there is actually dust that has rusted from when I built the fuel tanks. So we'll be sorting all that again. And if I have to strip it back, I will, and we'll just get it all finished so that we're all brand new and properly painted. So the welder has landed in, the lads brought that up and got it in. The new back steps makes it so much easier now that we haven't got a crane. And I've cut all the pieces for these bits here, the flat bit, which will be the piece, and then I'll measure then to cut between the flat piece and the actual rail of the hull. So I'm actually going to just weld these in now that I can. So I've just had a battery on the camcorder there. So this is the first of the plates. Plasma cut it out. It's 4mm, it's the extra stuff that was on the fuel tanks. And that actually will fit in there. So the measurements change for every one, so they're all going to be custom made. That's going to sit up on the little rail there. And weld it in there, and then bend this into suit here, and it should all just fit. So that's the plan anyway. So I'll start tacking that up now in a few minutes and we'll see how we get on. So I've just put a few tacks there and I have a clamp pressing off that, holding this bit down, and just a couple of tacks along there. So that's my new floor line now. And inside, I get the light in there. You can see I've just squished it down onto it, and I'll squish it along there, those couple of millimeters there, and I'll get the whole thing down there. I'll probably weld it on the inside on this side, it'll be easier. Just weld along that seam there and up the sides internally or externally. But now we have made a division between the floor line of the main cabin up top with the saloon and separated the engine room from it, completely airtight once it's all welded. So that's that one fully welded in. That's the first of 8 of them. There's 4 each side, and that's fully welded in the whole way around. So essentially the engine room is sealed once the floor is welded down, the steel floor is welded down to this strip of metal here, which it will be in due course. So even when I'm painting this, I'm going to run a bit of masking tape along this, so I'm not putting paint on it, and then I can paint it all at the end once I've it welded. So internally, now it's just a couple of tacks in there, but that's all. It's all close on the outside, so I'm not worried about the inside. That can all be sanded now and painted on the inside, and now we've separation between the two. So I'm going to cut the next one now. So I'm on the third one now. Excuse the light above me because it's nearly dark outside. It's almost 7 o'clock in October, so it's dark here at 6:30. So I've now found a very fast way of cutting. I'm using the plasma. It's working a dream to get these. I won't say they're easy. There's a couple of different dimensions I have to take because it actually flattens. Now I'm going to go to camera here and just leave it here. So this seems to be the best. Hold on now, I have it inside out. Excuse me. Here we go. Let's do it here. So what I have to do is, you can see here where this meets here, perfectly level. This side of it, you can just see the lip here coming up. So it's up further, it's out of camera. I'll move it in a sec. So what I do is I'm going to equally space it, tack it here, tack it there, and then slowly bring this into play. So that's the easiest way to do it. So now you can see the rise up here. So I'm going to pull that down out of it now. You'll see the light coming up through it. Just the barest little bit of light, so you can see it's all touching there. And the lights come on here. And I'll weld that in now. And then I'll also weld along this seam here, which I have done already there. And also on the inside on the previous two. So they're done. This is the third one. There's 4 on each side of the engine bay, and then I have that one to do tomorrow. And that one, it gets very flat and it sort of sits up here. So essentially, while it looks like all these bars here are absolutely floor level and all perfectly level, but the hull sheets change to suit the contour of the boat, so they actually change, and then they grow all the way as we go forward. So you can see exactly how it is, how it all runs. So I'm going to weld this away now for another little bit, and then close off this episode, because it's been 2 weeks since I've posted one, and I'm delighted to be able to do it again. So I'll just put the camera back up here. So excuse the stage of me, I'm absolutely filthy. Oh, there we go, a little bit of light. I'll take off this mask. So thank you very much for watching, and we will be uploading more videos like always, all the way until this boat gets to water, which is in a couple of years' time. And please like and subscribe, and also a big hi to all the supporters that are following us, and also the other boat builders that are helping me privately in the background with just advice and different bits and pieces, and also the new company Air Green insulation that we will be using to insulate the boat. So hi to Steve and his dad, I actually can't remember his name, but they will feature. We will be doing videos between the build of this and from their product point of view as well. So they're all in the future when we're ready for it. So in the meantime, I'll keep going with this, and take care, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you. So folks, welcome to the inside of my office, which is where I do my work, my normal work, and also all the stuff I'm doing for the boat, emails, CAD, printing off stuff, you name it. So unfortunately today, when I did the part about the insulation, the file corrupted for some reason. I don't know why, it's all just not right. So I've decided to do one here because I want to finish this video tonight and put it up on YouTube and get it out there. So I've decided to do it from here. So this is the polyester stuff, and I actually have this ready. It's where this was there from Air Green, so it's their page there, but I'll put the link in the description in the video. So this is 100mm thick. It can compress down to 50 or 60 or anywhere I want it, and this is going to, it's 100% polyester. It's fully recycled. There is absolutely nothing in it that is dangerous. There are no dangerous fibers. You know, the way rock wool and all this, you need to have all this breathing apparatus and all the rest of it, and gloves, and it's not itchy. It's completely smooth. It's like a sleeping stuff in the sleeping bag. And the good thing about this is, now I'll take a raw edge here like this, and you know, lighter here, and it literally just singes. Look, now it will go on fire eventually, but it's quite heat resistant. Most insulation will go on fire, especially if I did the spray and stuff. That stuff, it goes up like nuts. So this is going to line between the hull and the inside of the boat, and then it gets covered with this other product. This is this air reflect, and what this is 10mm thick. It is 2 layers of aluminiumized, now you can see the tests we've done there, and also a vapor barrier in between, and it comes in a roll 1.2 meters. I'll try and get all that in the camera. There we go. 12 or 15 meters or something like that per roll. Now this stuff isn't hugely expensive, and it's all sourced here in Ireland, and this was actually brought to me by the people who sell it within a couple of days because they happen to be near. So we've done some tests here with on these marks here, with people with their hand on top and holding the lighter here for nearly a minute, and absolutely nothing got through. It is burnt, but it's in no way has it damaged the aluminium. It's, you know, you can see it there. I'm trying to look at the viewfinder as well. So this will go on top of that, in between the ribs, and get taped into place. And if I have to use little battens or stuff, and it'll get glued on this side to the actual finished pot paint. So it means down the road, if I ever need to get in at the insulation, I can cut the tape, take out the panel, take off this stuff, pull out the other stuff, see what I need to see, do what I need to do, add, drill a hole, whatever it needs to do, and then put it back in there again. So that's the insulation. I thought it would be important to have this bit in. We will be doing videos with Air Green and with Steve and his dad, and we will be doing much more with their company and the boat, obviously. So that's it. I just said I'd stick this bit in at the end, so at least I can finish the video. Thank you.